What's good, Chiefs Kingdom? We're back after a few weeks off, the end of the season. If you didn't catch our last episode, we kind of broke down the Super Bowl. That's calling that super is being generous. But if you missed that episode, go back, check it out. If you haven't already, click that subscribe button, click that like button, that thumbs up, turn those notifications on, ring that bell. We'd really appreciate it. Helps the show. It's cheap, doesn't cost nothing, So that would really, like I said, help out the show and spread the word. We're back here. Would this be our first or second off-season video? I guess second, technically, because the other one was after the Super Bowl, but that was directly after the season was over. There's been some roster moves by the Chiefs, some personnel, some players leaving, some players getting signed, trade rumors. Obviously, the big news, the blockbuster trade the Broncos made with the Seahawks. We got some thoughts about that, what that means for Denver, and ultimately what that means for the Chiefs moving forward in the AFC West. Gentlemen, it's been a few weeks, football free. How are y'all doing, Bo?
Oh man, I forgot how productive a Sunday can be. Like there's sunshine and like fishing to be had. This whole thing called outdoors. So you're just like, oh wow, look at this. And my TV still won't play football for some reason, but I'm doing good. It's great to see you guys. Feel like it's been a minute. I mean, it's only been a couple of weeks, but not doing this every week sure changes things. But good to see you guys. Glad to be here. Glad to be talking with you guys again.
Yeah.
How you doing, Nick?
Yeah.
I'm good. I have just been catching up on all the shit that I've neglected to do every Sunday. That, like my wife has been like, hey, when are you going to do this? I'm like, probably in the off season. So I've just been doing that stuff around the house and then, just hanging out with the kiddos. And really, I mean, I've been so engrossed in work and all that stuff that's been going on. I haven't paid that much attention to that much of the off-season stuff. It's hard to not hear about some of the trades that happened this week, but it's been a nice little break from football, even if some Sundays feel a little boring.
Yeah, I miss watching Patrick Mahomes play football. It is nice, frees up, half your weekend basically, if you want to look at it that way, and you can get some things done. The stress level has been significantly, less. So that's been kind of good, being able to take it easy and not have many heart attacks and mild strokes every Sunday for, 4 or 5 months. I wonder sometimes how that's affected my long-term health, but no, yeah, it's been good. They call it the off season, but the NFL's figured out a way to really move the needle and be the center of attention year round. There's no games, but there's always something going on. There's players moving. There's trades. There's the draft. I saw Count Kuiper on ESPN doing his draft stuff. Mel Kiper and it seems like everybody on Twitter and social media is doing their own mock drafts, which I can't say as I've ever done one. I don't pay enough attention to college football, so really for me to do a mock draft would just be guessing anyway. But there's always something to talk about, and there is no real off season in the NFL. They're just not playing games right now. So got laying there. Hey guys, welcome back. Yeah, it's good to be back. Good to see you. Let's just get into it here and talk some Chiefs moves, some players, some guys that became free agents, some guys were released. Who do you want to talk about first?
Whoever, man. I mean, I think the oldest news kind of going in chronological order would be when they released Anthony Hitchens. So, I mean, that happened. I don't know. How do you guys feel about this move? I mean, I'm not mad about it, but I don't know. I'm curious to see how you guys feel about this. That's for sure.
Nick?
I feel like Hitchens was a good piece of this team for a good few years. I think we got him from Dallas, right? A pretty highly paid player when we got him. He got a good contract. He's looked kind of older and slower last year or year and a half. So, I think that we had discussed, speed at linebacker being an issue. And so I think that, it's probably in the end, it's a good move. I mean, anytime that we have people from the Super Bowl team that we release, I think I'm going to feel a little bit differently than, maybe somebody else that wasn't part of that run. Not that Hitchens had like signature plays necessarily that you could point to, but he's definitely a part of that team, right? And he's part of turning the defense around. So, I wish him well. He's always going to have a spot in KC fans' heart for being part of the Super Bowl team, but probably a good move to move on and try to look at something else, right? You probably could find, replacement level for him at a pretty good value. So
when the Chiefs acquired him, I thought they overpaid for him. I kind of thought he was an overrated player. He came here, never for me was a high impact difference maker. He did have the green dot. He did kind of coordinate the defense. They call him kind of the quarterback of the defense, I guess, maybe the way some people would put it. But hey, in the end, the guy was a starting linebacker on a Super Bowl winning team, a team that won the AFC 2 years back to back. He got, in 2 Super Bowls, 4 AFC championship games, helped us, drastically improve our playoff record, home playoff wins, things like that. So always be appreciative for him. He's not a guy that I'm gonna probably look back in 5 years and really, really miss.
Right.
With the savings that the Chiefs were getting by releasing him, it was kind of a no-brainer, right? It was a move that everybody saw coming, even him. Brett Veach alluded to the fact that, there's someone asked him about Anthony Hitchens being gone after, and he said, well, you never know. The NFL's a weird thing. Maybe if the right, price or opportunity, maybe they bring him back. But not only the savings and the cap situation, but the way Nick Bolton and Willie Gay played last year, he was just kind of in the way of those guys. Yeah. So once you add that all together, to me, it was just an obvious move that everybody, including Anthony Hitchens, knew was coming.
Yeah,
we'll see. Maybe like Brett Veach said, that could just be him being kind, right, and never closing the door on any situation. I think it's unlikely that he comes back to the Chiefs though and plays. I think his days are over. So appreciate all, those guys, they put their bodies on the line and they play hard, and linebacker's a tough position. So always appreciate him being a Chief, and he's a Super Bowl champion, and he's got a ring, and he played in back-to-back Super Bowls. You could sit there and kind of debate his impact on that, but he had some impact, and he was here. So,
and you made a great point, man. We brought him in when our defense was struggling really bad, and he, like you said, he wasn't like a playmaker, but he was able to really rally the team together and kind of be like a leader when we really needed it. But after this year, I'm ready to like make some drastic moves on our defense, man. Like it was kind of abysmal to watch our defense perform this year. It was so frustrating. It just, I mean, from the get-go, man, like we talked about all season, just some of the worst defense since the 50s in the stat era. I mean, so like I think it's kind of necessary. I mean, as much as we love a lot of these core guys, I mean, we're talking about some of the other guys earlier, we'll get to later on here. I'm kind of ready to see some of these guys go and like, just like we did with that O-line, like retool it and get something going, get some new guys in there and really work on a solid defense.
Yeah, by every measurement, they had some games there towards the middle or later stages of the season. The defense did where they held the Cowboys and they held Green Bay, even though that was sans Aaron Rodgers, to some low scoring point and one. But overall, the defense just was not good enough, and ultimately, it's what cost the Chiefs. They lost some of those games early, and they missed out on the 1 seed. Even though they got to play the AFC Championship game at home, you wonder maybe how that would have gone. The 18-point blown lead in the championship game, we don't need to rehash that. So, yeah, not only would I like to see some moves and some fresh faces, but I think it's warranted with the way overall outside of a few weeks, the overall picture was not rosy and was not good enough on defense.
Yep.
So, staying with defense, a couple of players have become free agents. Probably most notably on the defense, Tyrann Mathieu. There was a lot of love for the Honey Badger in Chiefs Kingdom. He came in his first year or two, especially on the defense. He was a playmaker. He was a difference maker. He brought a swagger to the defense and that secondary that was much needed.
Yeah.
This last year and a half, his play had fell off a little bit. He had the spats with Chiefs fans on social media, the deleted tweets, the kind of odd behavior. He's an aging player that I would say declined in his few seasons here with the Chiefs. He's getting up there in age. He's not old. I'm not saying that his playing days are over, but with the amount of money that he's probably going to command and teams out there with more cap space than the Chiefs, I just see someone offering more money than maybe he's worth, or even if he ends up being worth maybe more than the Chiefs can just pay him. It'd be interesting to see where he goes if he goes somewhere else. I don't anticipate him wearing a Chiefs uniform again. Nick, what do you think? Honey Badger?
Yeah, probably not. I just don't think we have the money, right? We're starting to pay that Mahomes contract this upcoming year. I do want to, there's plenty of negative stuff you can see about him. I do want to bring up the fact that, he was a team MVP, voted team MVP by the players this past season. He was in the Pro Bowl, and he was also our Walter Payton Man of the Year candidate, which he didn't win the overall award, but he was the candidate, and so he's done a lot of good things. But yeah, I agree with what you're saying, Scott. I think that there were several plays this year where I saw him kind of let up, at the end of a play as opposed to delivering a hit. I don't know if that's because he's just, the play was about over, or I don't know what it was, right? But you see some people post, asking him, hey, what was this? And then, he has some, smart clap back on Twitter about it. You don't know shit about football type, you don't know what it's like to be me type tweet back. Right. So I don't know if that's just because he's trying to protect himself because he knew he had a contract coming up. But yeah, I agree, right? I mean, if he's the heart and soul of the defense and the defense is, not performing well, maybe it is time for a change, again, he was a big part of that championship swagger. I think he coined that term, right? I mean, we had swagger. He was part of it. He was part of really they brought him in to turn the defense around, and he turned them around so that they played good enough after being embarrassed, the year before to win a Super Bowl, go to another Super Bowl and almost make it 3 straight. They just came up a few plays short, of really going to 3 straight Super Bowls. So, in the Chiefs pantheon, he's going to have a place of honor that is going to be far above where we would place, a player like Hitchens, probably just because of his impact and his vocal leadership on the team. I just think that at this point, I feel like we would be paying him for what he did as opposed to paying him for what he's going to do. And I don't think that that's a position that we can afford to be in right now, with the contracts that we have and that we need to give out. And so I think I wish him well. I wish him good luck. I hope he doesn't go to another AFC team. And, that's it.
Bo?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with everything you guys said. I think he's kind of already out of Kansas City. I mean, he's kind of alluding to that on social media. Just kind of baffles me that professional players have such an involvement on social media. I mean, they have to realize how famous they are, right? And the fact that he responds to literally people with 12, 13 followers, it's just, you're just like, dude, that's not even worth your time. You know what I mean? What are you doing even reading these comments?
Maybe he has the worst social media manager ever. And
I don't even think he has one, right? I think
I'm just making a joke.
And
It'd be funny if he had one. Some guys getting all butthurt.
it's just baffling they just have a friend telling them that, like, hey man, just don't even respond to these guys. It'll look a lot better. But I agree with Nick. Nick brought up a great point. I think we would be paying him for what he's done. And like, look back this past season, he didn't do much. So I mean, we're paying him what he did 2 seasons ago. Yeah. I thought he was going to come back this year, man. I have a friend in Dallas that's adamant about Honey Badger not being the greatest player out there. And I find myself defending Honey Badger a lot, you know. And then like we played the Ravens, he had those 2 interceptions against Lamar Jackson. All those memes came up like F it. Tyron's down there somewhere, right? It was Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
So like, I was like, all right, maybe this is going to be his year again, and then just nothing after that. Absolutely nothing. So I mean, again, it's one of those things. Like I'm ready to see guys on the defense kind of go, man. Like we need to retool it. Just like we saw our weakness in the Super Bowl against the Bucs, right? It was our O-line. We couldn't protect Patrick Mahomes. He ran his ass off, and as hard as he tried, he couldn't run from the Bucs defense and come up with anything in that game. What was our weakness this year? It was our defense, man. So like I'm thinking like we just got to retool it the same way we did that O-line. Like get new guys in there, next man up. Let's. I mean we had such great rookies this year that I'm looking forward to what we can draft and like who we can bring up from practice squads or like just second, third string guys who know the system, perform well. So. Like you guys said, I hope he doesn't play in the AFC West, but I don't see him playing for the Chiefs anymore. I think he's going to get a little humbled with how much he's going to be able to get on his free agency testing. So
I agree too.
We'll see what happens though.
For sure. The other bizarre thing about his social media and his Twitter rants and his arguments with people you said that don't have hardly any followers. I mean, there was tweets where they didn't even like at Matthew era. Yeah. Or even have his name in the tweet. Like, does he just have a notification anytime someone used Honey Badger? Like, it was weird, man. Like, it's like he was going out of his way to see what people are saying about him. And to me, I know everybody on the team says he was a leader and he was voted captain, he was voted MVP. I'm not saying he wasn't a leader. But to me, someone that can't take that kind of criticism from fans and is that thin-skinned, I guess, if you want to put it that way, to be a leader is really weird. I mean, I've never worked or been around or played sports with anybody that was a strong leader that couldn't tune stuff like that out and couldn't take criticism and let things like that get to him. So,
which is weird because there's an obvious disconnect, right? Because like I think we all share that opinion. But then he gets the team's like Player of the Year award. You know what I mean? Like so, like I don't. And you just got to be something that they all deal with that we don't see completely. But like what we see on social media is not that guy.
Yeah. And just because one person is criticizing you or questioning your play on Twitter doesn't mean the whole fan base hates you.
Exactly.
And just because you're critical of a guy's play in a game or for a stretch of a season doesn't mean that you think the guy is terrible or that he sucks or that you're not appreciative of what he's done in the past. So I think we're all in agreement that maybe it's best he moves on, regardless of whether that's best or not. I think that's going to, be what ends up happening anyway. I think you see him wearing a different uniform for a different team next season. And as long as it's not the Raiders or the Broncos or the Chargers, best of luck to him. If it is one of those teams, then I hope his play declines. And it's not one of those things where you let him go and he comes back to haunt you, revenge game kind of situation or whatever. But, I appreciate all the hard work and the attitude and the championship swagger. And he was a starting safety on the first Super Bowl championship in this franchise's history in 50 years. So, thanks to Honey Badger. Yeah, if he is gone, best wishes and good luck to you, and we appreciate everything that he's done for the Chiefs, and he'll always be a part of Chiefs Kingdom, and he'll always be a Super Bowl champion. So, another less popular player in Chiefs Kingdom that has become a free agent and has been, the source of many fans' rants and ire the last few seasons. Dan Sorensen, to me, is an interesting free agent. See lots of people online saying that they need to cut Dan Sorensen when they see these other players getting cut. You don't really need to cut him because he's a free agent. His contract was expired. So those tweets don't make a lot of sense. What are your thoughts on Dirty Dan coming back to the Chiefs possibly? Bo?
I'm of the opinion, if we can keep them, we keep them. But again, I like my theme of the night. Just let's retool this defense, man. I saw way too many gaps in it too often to be like, we definitely need to keep this guy around this year. There's maybe 4 or 5 guys that are like, I would argue that like these guys we have to keep. But other than that, I mean, I'm ready to see a whole completely new defense.
Get the broom, Bill.
Yeah, get him out of here. Let's redo this. Exactly. No, but I mean,
trash it all.
I hate to say it, Dirty Dan was one of those gaps. I mean, luckily he came back and redeemed himself with some really clutch plays. But I mean, man, if he hadn't, picked 6 maybe this year, if he didn't get that pick 6, we would still be talking about how he left guys open. But I mean, that's more of a coaching problem, having him one-on-one with, like Diggs and people in this league that he has no right guarding in his own mind. Like they shouldn't have him guarding him one-on-one.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know why that was happening, but at the same time, he's a little bit, I don't know, he's a little on the older side as far as football players go. Like I said, I'd love to keep him if we can, but it'd be one of those things. If he just can't make it work, I'm not too mad about that.
I fucking love Dirty Dan, man. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I can name more marquee plays that dude has made than the other 2 guys that we were just talking about put together.
Yeah,
in big games, big moments. I mean, when game interception to seal the win against Phillip Rivers, right? Catching the ball in the end zone when they were driving to win that game. That might have been the Mexico City game.
It was. And that game kind of ultimately was like a clincher for the division over the Chargers. So yeah.
I mean, the 2 plays that he made on special teams in the Houston game, right? I mean, and I know we've talked about these on past episodes and stuff, but I think it's funny because like he now you can name a lot of plays that he's blown too, and that's the rub there, right? Is it's like he's a wild card. You need to use him, but you don't want to he's not an every down guy. And so I guess my point in bringing that up is like he offers a great value versus what you would have to pay him to keep him, or great potential value, and it's like would you rather have some guy that is soaking up second or third string that's never going to see the field and is an unknown, or if you could get Dan at veteran replacement value for a veteran minimum, or even a little bit above the veteran minimum. We were talking about this before the show, and that's what Scott was saying. But I don't know. I mean, I just think that like he's got that spark for making big plays at big times, and that's something that like you can't teach, and it's something that not a lot of people can do, right? I mean, there's not a lot of dudes that like you see that make that play to dive and knock the ball out at the goal line in the divisional round of the playoffs right before half that keeps a touchdown and gets a turnover. I mean, like you can just like go on and on with some of those plays that he's made, and so I'll hold him in just as high of esteem as Honey Badger. I think 10 years from now, where we look back, and I think that he's one of those people that and it was really upsetting to see him get shit on so much this year because he didn't have a great year. But he was like a bad player on a bad defense for a few games. And so I feel like he was like a whipping boy. Like, it's like it becomes popular to hate on things at a certain point. Like it's popular to hate Nickelback, right? And like I don't like Nickelback's music either, but like I can name probably 20 bands that I think that are worse than them that don't get as much hate, right? And I think that that's kind of that public fixation. You see some of that now where it's popular to hate on Jackson Mahomes and Britney, right? Disproportionate probably to the things that they did, where like the public's fucking focus gets like right here on somebody. It's like no matter what they do, it's like wrong. And I feel like that became Dan Sorensen last year. So I mean, I wouldn't be like, I wouldn't cry in my pillow if like we cut him, because Bo's got a good point, man. We like, our defense has got to change some things around, but I just feel like, the value versus what you'd have to pay him is what I would probably look at.
Yeah.
The thing too with him, on top of that, where he just blew up Ryan Tannehill in that AFC Championship game in the Super Bowl year, that was a third down. That was a huge play. The pick six against the Broncos at home this year was kind of a game sealer. He made several plays in the Chargers game in LA that
Fourth
helped
down
us
stop
them down close to the goal line, that allowed us to come back and win that game in overtime. I'm just going to say it right now, and we might watch our viewer count drop off after this. I think you're going to see Dan Sorensen in the Ring of Honor at Arrowhead Stadium someday. That guy was part of some of the best Chiefs teams this Super Bowl run. And like you said, I'm not saying he's as good of a player necessarily as Tyrann Mathieu, but he made just as many big plays in big games for this team in those championship runs than almost anybody else that you can name on defense. Name me another guy. Chris Jones doesn't have a sack in a playoff game. Some of these other guys get love, and I know what you're talking about the fans, get fixated. It's a mob mentality. They start piling on. So, was he used out of position and made some bad plays and missed some plays? Sure, but every player misses plays.
Yeah.
To me, it's more about the big plays that you make on top of the plays that you're going to miss here and there. So if they could bring him back on a team-friendly contract, even as just an experienced guy that knows the defense and a locker room presence that's a holdover from the championship teams, I would like to see him come back if they can get him in that capacity. Can't imagine there's as big a market out there for Dan Sorensen as Tyrann Mathieu. So,
and to be clear, I'm not hating on the guy. I'm just being critical of him. I've also loved the guy as well. I mean, I agree with you guys what you said, but I'm just being critical and being real. I mean, like, there's gonna come a point. There's gonna come a point in time where we're gonna have to do this with Kelsey, with Mahomes, and everybody. I mean, it's just you're gonna lose the battle to time always.
Yep.
So it is what it is.
Father Time's undefeated, as they like to say. So, and if Dan Sorensen, I doubt he's watching, but if he has played his final game in the Chiefs uniform, I salute you, sir.
Thank you
for everything you did for the team and the big plays that you made. And the Chiefs don't win Super Bowl and don't make Super Bowls without Dan Sorensen, period.
I agree with that.
And come on the show, Dan.
Dan, you're welcome to come on the show anytime. He's smart and doesn't have social media, so I don't know how to reach out to Dan Sorensen. Dirty Dan about getting him on the team. One player on the defensive side, before we start talking about maybe some of the offensive roster moves and player news, is Frank Clark is still on the team. He has a large cap number this year. I've seen some speculation that maybe the Chiefs can save more money by waiting to release him. The guy showed flashes for a stretch there towards the end of the season, but even Frank Clark, even the Shark, would probably admit he underperformed this year and even probably the last half portion of last season, the season before. With that number, maybe possibly restructure is in order. I don't know what kind of market would be out there for him. I don't think that he's going to find a team that's going to pay him anywhere near what he was going to make here. So I don't see any set of circumstances or situations where he is in a Chiefs uniform at the number that he is scheduled to make. Nick, Frank Clark, what do you think happens? You think he restructures and comes back? You think they release him?
He's a guy that is getting a little bit older, and he didn't have as great of a season as he may have had in the past last year. So I think what we should do is trade him to the Broncos for like 7 players and 45 draft picks.
Nick, that would have been a really good segue into the topic we're going to talk about later with the trade. But
yeah, well, I blew it. You blew it.
No. Well, we talked defense first. We would have talked offense first. We could have done the segue, but
yeah. No,
yeah.
I think that Frank Clark is. I mean, he's got those signature plays, right? Like, I feel like we're just kind of saying the same thing over and over again, but like,
right.
Clark was not that impact player this year that we needed, and he was the highest paid player on the team. He made more money than Patrick Mahomes, right? Anybody else? Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, and you can't make that kind of money and ask for that kind of contract and then perform like that and really expect that things are going to go well for you the next year. I mean, it's just, he's just not like providing the value, right? And I guess that's my theme is like, what's the value and what are you getting? What's your investment? And like that money is even worth even more now that we have the QB contract kicking in. And so, you got to look at what's your dead cap space if you cut him versus if you keep him, right? Maybe we can restructure his deal. I don't think that that he is, like somebody that we don't want on the team, period. But we just don't want him on the team at that level of pay. And I mean, Doug, it's brought up a good point here. I mean, there's still that pending, issue with his legal stuff in California. I mean, is the dude going to prison? Like, I mean, it may not even be an option to have him on the team.
Luckily for Frank Clark, the American justice system, he's wealthy, and that seems to
solve a lot of the problems. Yeah.
That seems to have more pull maybe than even like the facts of the case or the circumstances involved, unfortunately. So I think he gets that taken care of. But what do you think? Do you think he ends up getting released? Or, I mean, I think we're all in agreement. I don't think you'd find anybody out there that would say that they can bring him back at what he's scheduled to make. But do you see him? Do you see him being released, or do you see a restructure him staying on the team?
Like if I had to bet, I would bet release without knowing what the dead cap hit is. That's the only thing, right? So
it's more. I can't recall the numbers from memory right at the moment, but it's bigger savings to release him than it is to have him stay on. So
yeah, so I would guess that we're probably moving on, and there's maybe some contractual way that all that works, that why they haven't cut him yet. But that's what I would guess. What do you think, Bo?
I think it'll be interesting to see what Veach and the boys do with this. I think it's the reason they're waiting to see all these free agents test their market, seeing what everybody's going to be commanding, what everybody's asking, what they can, like what Nick said, what we can afford, essentially. There's a lot of players being floated around that could easily replace Frank Clark. And then at the same time, like Scott's saying, if you restructure his contract, it's like, I mean, as many holes as we had, he wasn't one of them. He just wasn't the impact player that we thought he was going to be. I didn't think he had a terrible, terrible season. He just wasn't on fire like we all kind of thought he was going to be. I personally think if we can get some of these other bigger names that are getting floated out there, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit, that I see the Chiefs releasing them and going after one of these bigger guys, one of the more dominant guys at that position.
With all the big contracts to some other players on the team, I mean, you're going to have to go out and do the same thing you did with Frank Clark and pay him a new person a whole ton of money to come in. I think Frank Clark and his agent know with the legal situation in California. I think they know with his play the last year and a half, he's nowhere near as valuable or going to get in the open market, anywhere near what he was going to get here anyway. So knowing all that, I could see a situation where the Chiefs restructure and keep him around. He's a good player in the business world, kind of what Nick was talking about. That's called ROI, right? That's your return on investment. The return, he gave you returns, just not good enough on what the investment was. what you were paying. You can't play good players, great player money. You can't get good production for great production dollars, and that's what you had from Frank Clark. He seals the edge. He's more than just sacks. He seals the edge. He's actually pretty good in the run game as far as that's concerned. And some of these scrambling quarterbacks, holding them in the pocket and keeping them, in between the numbers or in between the hash marks, you like to say. He can still rush the quarterback, especially if you put another guy or if you get another guy in the draft that draws some attention. Chris Jones is drawing attention. You get somebody else, maybe that frees him up. He's not getting as much attention. Personally, I would like to see him back just on a salary number that makes sense to the Chiefs and allows us to go out and sign some other guys and address some other positions. I actually think he's going to be back.
Yeah, it could be.
Obviously.
I don't see why not. Yeah. I mean, but like when the defense was clicking this year. Go ahead.
I was saying, the only why not would it be that he's like, well, no, you have to pay me this or release me, and I'm not going to take a pay cut. So do what you're going to do.
Right.
I just don't see him and his agent thinking that he's going to go get Patrick Mahomes money on another team anywhere. Anyway, he's going to take a pay cut regardless.
Yeah.
Maybe stay where you're comfortable. I don't. That's kind of the way I'm looking at it. But go ahead.
I was going to say, if you look at the games where the defense was clicking and they were kind of like, an actual decent defense, he was one of the guys flying around making his name known, getting called out. That's why I'd say, like, yeah, we should try to keep him. But, like, yeah, like not for too high of a price. Obviously, we got to make all the numbers work, especially with the defense I'm trying to build.
Bo's going for the 85 Bears. Repeat here.
Hey, so you want 20-0? Get us that defense with Patrick Mahomes. You get 20-0.
Honestly, dude, I'm curious to see what these guys do. Veach and Reed and everybody were at the combine. They're scouting rookies, man. I was impressed with what they did with the rookies this year. There's no reason they can't, at least get some performers on the defensive side this year, rookie-wise, again, too, in some of the gaps. Dude, I bet you we can get a pretty good defense for pretty cheap this year. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah, for sure.
They could go out and do it. Wild card in that whole situation is Spagnuolo. We've talked about that before. We don't need to discuss that now again. But, yeah, I'm all for improvement, whatever that means. And those guys, they know a lot more about football and football players and roster construction than I do. So whatever they need to do to get better, I'm all for them doing that. We got 8 or 9, 10 viewers, it looks like, here. Shoot us a comment. Tell us what you think about the Shark and Tyrann Mathieu, what you all are thinking about what we're talking about. We'd love to see the comments. Makes us a lot more fun for us to get some people involved. So, don't be shy. This isn't being seen by tens of millions of people worldwide. Let us know what you think. I guess we'll shift over to the offensive side. There's been some news, some rumors, some I don't know what you would call them, transactions or whatever with some of the players on the offensive side of the ball. Orlando Brown, maybe most notably, Chiefs put the franchise tag on him. They said that they're hopeful and they believe that a long-term agreement can be reached between the two parties. The franchise tag is just a safety net to make sure that he doesn't go out and get swooped up by somebody else, because when they traded for him, he only had 1 year left on his contract. So,
correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm like Nick. I haven't been paying full attention to this. Did they not designate him with the unofficial franchise tag to where he can still shop teams, but there's some other guarantees or something that if he does do that, I don't know.
Yeah, that gives the Chiefs like the right of first refusal to match any offer.
Yeah, that's what it is, right? Isn't that what happened? Yeah. So it's not the official franchise,
though, just to make sure that he doesn't go sign a contract with somebody else, that they have at least some sort of right to keep him on the team. They are hopeful and said that they believe that an agreement will be reached. The franchise tag, it's a funny thing to me. You hear the players complain about it every year, yet when it comes collective bargaining agreement time, they leave it in there and agree to it every time. So it's the average of the top 5 players at your position for a year. You've seen guys do the I'm not signing the tag and I'm sitting out, the Le'Veon Bell method. Hasn't worked out well for those guys that have done that traditionally. Orlando Brown, I don't know if he's signed his tag yet. I don't know if I haven't heard whether he's refused to sign it. The last I heard, he had not signed it.
I heard he was at Patrick Mahomes' wedding.
Yeah, he was at his bachelor party in Vegas that was put out on TMZ. By the way, baller move going to that Ritzy Steakhouse and having your name and the Chiefs logo seared into the bone on your steak.
That was awesome.
That is, I mean, almost as good as his play on the field.
Dude, that'd be cool to get that brand.
Yeah, I don't know if you could like save that bone or what, but that was cool. So if you missed that story, I know TMZ puts out a lot of crap and a lot of drama. That was actually a pretty fun, kind of cool story about him in Vegas for his bachelor party, leading up to the wedding here, coming up with his fiancee Brittany Matthews. So baller move there. Patrick Mahomes never disappoints. The guy he just wins all the time, and rightfully so, and well deserved. He's a good kid. He's a nice guy. He's a class act. So, but the franchise tag thing. I mean, what are your thoughts? Orlando Brown. He's one of the better. I'm not going to say anybody's going to mistake him for like a Trent Williams or one of these guys. We have Tristan Wirfs as a top 2 or 3 player at left tackle, but there's a lot of people that say he's top 5, top 6. He's a good player. I want to say he gave up 2 or 3 sacks and 400 pass blocks or whatever it was last year. Still really good numbers. But with the cap situation, left tackles are expensive. That number kind of – the franchise tag is a big number, but maybe not as big, especially if you factor in once you have to do salary, signing bonuses and things like that on a multi-year deal. What do you think ultimately happens with Orlando Brown and the Chiefs? You think he plays on the tag, or you think they get a new contract agreed to? Nick?
Man, I don't know. He's been on the team for 1 year. I think it bodes well for him just from a team aspect if he's at Mahomes' bachelor party and doing all that stuff. I mean, means that they get along and there's no bad blood about, any play on the field. Not saying that has any bearing on, it's more of like that won't get you the contract, but if he hates you, like he'll definitely keep you from getting the contract, right?
Tyrann Mathieu wasn't there, so I mean,
well, there you go. That's all you need to know. Look, he played 1 season for us. I think he's only played 2 years at the left tackle position, right? He was playing right tackle for Baltimore, I think, before their tackle went out. So he played left tackle as like a backup for Baltimore, played really well. That's what garnered the trade. I don't know. I mean, we traded draft capital to get him, right? I mean, we gave up. So I would say they work out a deal, and they're just trying to let him see what his fair market value is so that they don't overpay is what I would guess they're doing. What do you think, Bo?
Yeah, I mean, I would just be repeating everything Nick just said, man. I kind of agree. That's exactly the play they're going with. Like, I think, like you said, tackles are expensive, but they're not the most expensive position. I think it's also to shut up a lot of prima donnas like, I wonder if I'm going to get the franchise tag. All these other guys who make a deal out of it, kind of like puts them to the side for a minute. Like, we're dealing with this now. Like Nick said, it bodes well that he's at Patrick Mahomes' bachelor party. He said he hasn't signed it because he's trying to help him with his wedding, and that he's also doing a charity event. So, I mean, like, dude sounds like a pretty solid guy. Just sounds pretty busy in the offseason. I bet you like he's just shopping. Like, everybody's shopping at this point. I think that's what's going on. There's no reason to rush into this on anybody's side right now. So yeah, I think everybody's just waiting to see what they can get. Fair value, essentially. Again, yeah, everything Nick just said. So
high five.
Well, I'll just repeat everything that you just said that Nick said before. No, I'm just kidding. they did trade for him, but they didn't give up. They didn't trade away the farm like the Broncos did for Russell Wilson. So
Right.
if he just you've got him under the franchise tag, so I mean, there's no doubt that he's going to play for the Chiefs next year, unless he refuses to play on the franchise tag, which I don't necessarily see that happening with him. But I think the Chiefs probably figure out a way to get a contract done with him. The franchise tag just seems to create bad blood between teams and players more often than not, and you don't want to see that. The guy was a good tackle. Left tackles are hard to find, so when you get a good one, you need to figure out a way to keep him. I think that Brett Veach is genuine and sincere when he says that this is just a procedural thing, that he's confident and believes that they'll get a deal done. So I think you see a deal get done with him, and he's here for a number of years to come, protecting Patrick's blind side. He was able to stay healthy this year. That's another big thing at that position. So, I like to see that get done. I think it will get done. Another player on the offensive side of the ball that kind of has been in the news, this is more rumors, and it was Ian Rappaport and some bigger name guys that were saying that the Chiefs are working on a contract extension with the Cheetah, which makes my heart go pitter-patter. He's one of the big three, man. And I just love the dude. That touchdown he scored in the divisional game against the Bills, I mean, not only was it clutch, you go back and watch that. There's no other receiver in the game that makes that play. Nobody.
Right.
No one. There's nobody in the league that makes that play.
He waited all year to do it. What a time to do it.
Secondary. And it was clutch too. So, but then you didn't hear anything, and that's been 3 or 4 or 5 days now. It was kind of like usually when you see those little morsels get thrown out, out there, then
they get confirmed.
You get the rest of the meal there confirmed a few days
There's
after.
Generally a little nugget there that has some meat on it,
right. Right, yeah. It's kind of like the appetizer to the main course, but haven't seen anything as official. You got to think the guy wants to stay here. He's still under contract for next year, so they don't need to do anything. Obviously bias here, but to me, he's the best wide receiver in the NFL. And there's people that will argue that and will try to say that there's other guys that are better. And DeAndre Hopkins is more popular. But to me, you saw it in that game against the Bills, and the dude scores touchdowns in big moments. I want to say in 4 AFC championship games, the guy's got like 4 or 5 touchdowns now.
Yeah.
He scored 2 against the Titans in the year we won the Super Bowl. He scored another one. Just a badass play in the first that I want to say it was the first touchdown the Chiefs scored in the championship this year against the Bengals.
Last year he changed the way teams play defense.
Bills. So what's that?
He's literally changed the way teams play defense.
Oh yeah. Right. I mean, you have to double him, and even then, that's no guarantee that he's not going to outrun your entire defense. So I would like to see that get done. The guy's still has not lost a step. You see guys come and go. Oh, the fastest player in the league for a year. That dude has been the fastest player in the league for like 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah, still racing people in the offseason too.
Yeah, Usain Bolt.
I want to say that I saw a stat out there the other day that in his first 6 seasons, and for a wide receiver's first 6 seasons in the NFL, the only players with more yards and touchdowns than Tyreek Hill are Jerry Rice and Terrell Owens.
Dang.
I want to say,
yeah,
the dude's bordering on Hall of Fame career.
Yeah. I think the only reason this is like news, because like you said, he's already under contract still. Like this shouldn't be that big of a news. But like what we're already doing it. Like I think there's so much math to be had. I feel so bad for Chiefs CPAs and all their financial analysts out there, like having to crunch all these numbers and scenarios. Nobody's working harder than them right now. And I think that's why it's a deal, or why it's news, man. Like everybody's doing the math. They're going to try to, extend his contract out, and they don't want to pay. They're just trying to like do the math to afford everybody and keep this team together. Like I said, I feel so bad for those guys crunching all these numbers because, man, there's a million scenarios that they have to run through. And this is a guy you got to keep. You got to make all the numbers work for this guy.
I don't feel sorry for him. All those people got Super Bowl rings when they won.
The guy's name is escaping me now too, but the Chiefs capologist, cap wizard, cap guru, whatever you want to call him, and his name is escaping me now. That guy is a literal genius when it comes to contracts and restructures and the way the Chiefs write contracts to where they can convert money to different things to where guys, like, all the players are about guaranteed money, right? Because the NFL, you don't have guaranteed money like you do in the NBA or like you do in Major League Baseball. The only thing that's really guaranteed is your signing bonus. The Chiefs write contracts to where they can convert money to guaranteed money, and the salary cap number goes down somehow. I have no idea how they do it, but
let them keep doing it.
They've got wizards. They've got, if not the best, one of the 2 or 3 best front offices and capologists, GMs. God, what is that guy's freaking name? That's going to piss me off now.
But yeah, it's a whole dedicated team of 30 plus people at least, man. Just dedicated to crunching those numbers. Like,
right. So would love to see the Cheetah get locked up long term. You never know, like, what happens. Like, guy goes into his last year, and you get a Tyrann Mathieu situation, or where maybe you risk the guy getting sour with you for not getting paid, and I got to prove it another. You just never know what happens. So, bird in hand is worth 2 in the bush, as the old saying goes. We'd love to see him get signed and guarantee that he's here for the next. He's still in his prime too. He's only like 29, 30 years old. The dude is not 34, 35.
Dan Crum, is that what you're talking about, Scott?
What's that?
Dan Crum?
No. Anyway, it'll come to me here after we start talking about something else. That's the way my brain works. But yeah, they're going there. So we'll see if that happens with the Cheetah. Trying to think. I'm having a hard time thinking now. Guys, Byron Pringle, there's some fringe guys that are out there that are free agents that would like to see back. I don't know what the market is for Byron Pringle elsewhere. You got to think the Chiefs can figure out a way to work something out to keep him.
I saw something on Twitter. I saw something on Twitter or Facebook or something about Bieniemy taking Pringle out, and actually all the coaching staff taking like all the free agents out and like having like a dinner with them or something, and trying to tell them like, hey, this is your home if you want it to be, kind of thing. I don't know if that's rumor. It probably is. You know how the internet works, but again, maybe a little nugget in there of truth. So.
There was that story out there, the Bieniemy, the AFC Championship thing it didn't get deleted. It got unpublished, whatever that means, that was posted and written by an anonymous source that was citing anonymous sources. I don't know what to think about all that. So that's all. I don't think we want to get into that. But
it was anonymous.
One final rumor that I've seen going around here is that the Seahawks, they're supposedly in rebuild mode. And they're trying to acquire picks. Obviously, we'll talk here in a minute about the Russell Wilson trade. But this was from a verified account. I saw it said there was a rumor out there that the Chiefs are interested and would possibly give up their first-round pick, number 30, for DK Metcalf. And, bro, when I saw that, man, I almost drove my car off the bridge that I was crossing.
Dude, yeah.
Like DK Metcalf on this team –
oh my God!
Woo!
Hello, Super Bowl.
I think I replied with the Ace Ventura gif, where it's like, yes. Like, I do. Give me. He had a down year this year. DK did. Had some weird attitude, blow up tantrums. I don't know what you want to call them. on the field, the Seahawks had a losing record. They were not as good as they anticipated or thought that they would be. The losing kind of got to him a little bit, it seemed like. The lack of production, he wasn't getting maybe the ball as much as he thought. Russell Wilson didn't look like Russell Wilson of old. What would you guys give up number 30 for DK Metcalf, Bo?
Yeah, that's like a no-brainer, man.
Right.
Like you said, he had a little bit of issues, but I think that was more just like, being on a bad team when everybody was expecting greatness and just the frustrations that come around with that. I mean, that guy is so good, so big, so talented. Like, yeah, like that's the guy you would go after if you could go after him for whatever. I mean, the plays alone where he caught that or he chased down that guy, like they threw an interception, chased him down from the 5, tackled him down at the other 5. You know what I mean? Just like he has heart. He loves to play. He's the only player I know that's been kicked out of a game and tried to come back in and still play.
I was going to say, that's dedication, bro. I mean, that's dedication.
So I love that kind of heart and passion. But dude, I mean, I think that's just kind of fantasy talk. I don't think the Seahawks give up their best receiver by any means. Maybe, I mean, Pete Carroll's old and senile now. That could be a possibility that he's for retooling their offense completely now that Russ is gone. But if you look at the ticker at the bottom, these are all the names that have been floating around that I've saw this week, dude. Eric Fisher, Bobby Wagner, Juju Smith-Schuster, Desarius Smith, Chandler Jones, J. Devon Clowney. You know what I mean? Like, just every big name that's a free agent, like, oh, the Chiefs could get him. Like, yeah, I mean, we could theoretically try to make some moves. If it could happen, I don't see them, like, why not? We could entertain that, but I don't think that's a reality. I think that's just more to like keep the off-season talk a spur.
To me, when you see like it's a little bit different when you see, oh, this team's interested in this free agent. Well, every fucking team is interested in the top free agents. But when you see a story that's like the Chiefs have been talking about possibly trading for a player, to me, that's a little bit different because I mean DK Metcalf's on a contract, like unless the Seahawks don't want him anymore, he's going to be back. So to see his name thrown out there, like I said, my heart skipped a beat and I about crashed my car. Nick, with the possible additions needing to be made on defense and replacing some of these guys that are leaving us in free agency, you giving up pick 30 for DK Metcalf?
Yeah, I think that giving up one pick for one guy that you know is a proven quantity, like I mean, just
ask the Rams.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like you're not having. Would you give up 3 draft picks for him? No, right? But if it's like the 30th pick overall, which is, it's better than a second round because you get that 5th year, option on the contract for first round picks. But yeah, of course you would. I mean, if that's a 1-for-1 trade, you make that all day for any really good starter. You guys got tremendous upside, but all the things that Bo said, and I mean, he's just a physical freak, right? And so you just look at what would that unlock in our offense, because now you can't just double.
Dude, Patrick Mahomes throwing to him.
But now you can't just like look at Kelsey and Hill, right? I mean, now you're just like, oh, we're just totally fucked because like we can't double all these guys.
Right.
That's 6 of your dudes on 3 of theirs. Like it would give us a tremendous advantage if we were able to have him on our team.
2 of those guys would be 6'5", and then the other guy runs a 4.2 40. Like, oh my God.
And dude, this is getting hardcore fantasy dream world out of reality. But there was also some people a few weeks ago were saying the Chiefs were interested in trading or Christian McCaffrey, and someone put on there was like, imagine this Chiefs offense: Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, DK Metcalf, and Christian McCaffrey. I mean, that's not going to happen. But man, it's nice.
Give me all rookies on defense to make that happen.
Right.
That dude, like, you don't even need a defense, man. You could just go out there and you're going to be the first NFL team to average 50 points a game. So Doug's in here. We need a good third target. I don't think that Robinson or Pringle have really stepped up. Yeah, Pringle made some big plays. McCole Hardman, I saw an interesting stat too on him that said that he had more yards this year and touchdowns than Sammy Watkins had in any season with the Chiefs.
2 years, yeah. I think it was 2 years with the Chiefs, but his last 2 years.
Yeah, so he stepped up and looked like maybe he's catching on a little bit.
He had a sick catch in that championship game.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I mean, Josh Gordon signed again.
yeah, man. I mean, just more batted interceptions coming our way.
How many more times can we hit him in the face with a football this year?
Man, if he could catch next year, that I feel so dumb. That was probably the thing I was most wrong on last year. Was like I think he's going to have 5 or 6 or 7
all pumped up about it.
touchdowns.
I remember, I wasn't too stoked, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, all right, you convinced me. Me.
I talked you into it. So I probably shouldn't be in here bringing up my misses. You're not supposed to talk about your misses. You're only supposed to brag about your wins. But
hey, Bo, I know it's really good crypto. You should invest in some, and we got some NFTs, man.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, got some snake oil too. Elixir. How's it on stains kind of stuff. So, but yeah, I guess that leads us into the final discussion of the episode here. The Broncos trade everything.
I got traded to the Seahawks.
Yeah, I mean, Nick was part of the trade somehow. He's going to be on Broncos Country Live next season.
When I lived in Denver, when you buy a house in Colorado, you sign a contract,
Just, to me, this is really – there's 2 aspects of this trade. First aspect of it is what they gave up to get him. They gave up. The Broncos traded away 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, a third-round pick.
It was a 5th,
or 5th. I'm sorry. No, I think the Broncos got back a 5th. Wasn't it a 3rd they gave up?
What I read was a 5th, but I don't know.
They gave up Noah Fant, which is a good. No one's going to mistake him for Darren Waller. No one's going to mistake Noah Fant for Darren Waller or Travis Kelce or a healthy George Kittle, but he's good.
Dude, had 3 or 4 touchdowns in one game.
And a good defensive lineman for Russell Wilson and like a 5th-round pick. I guess it depends on what you get out of Russell Wilson. But he'll turn 34 this year. And to me, I just, even if he's damn good, you're still overpaid. If you're the Broncos. Am I wrong, Nick? Too much? Yet to be seen if that's too much?
It's yet to be seen. Like, the thing that worries you about Russell Wilson as he gets older is he's an escape artist, and that's how he's made his bones in the NFL. Tremendous thrower of the football. Probably, I mean, even though he's like well known, he's probably even underrated with his his accuracy downfield. Everybody talks about Mahomes and Rodgers and stuff, but Wilson can make some pretty insane throws off platform, all that sort of stuff while he's on the run. But I mean, he had DK Metcalf, right? Like in Tyler Lockett. And that's what Bo, texted us when we were talking about it. And they won what, like 4 games last year?
No, 6, I think. 6
okay,
or 7.
6. I mean, now, conversely,
he was hurt a couple games.
First losing season he ever had, right? So he's like he had like all winning seasons before that. So that's a huge gamble, and it's hilarious seeing the Chiefs and the Broncos like trade places where like the Broncos when we were kids like had the guy that, that was like a young quarterback. They didn't draft him, but they essentially drafted him because, Elway refused to play for the Colts when he got drafted, and they traded him to the Broncos. But like they had that solid QB all throughout, and now it's like the Broncos are just like trying to take off everybody's off-cast QBs, and it's really kind of hilarious to see. I mean, for me, now that we have Mahomes, and it's just like they're just like grasping at straws, it seems like, trying to get somebody.
I have a little bit of sympathy for Broncos fans just because I know too many of them. But like, remember when we got Alex Smith, how good of a feeling that was? Like he wasn't the best quarterback in the world, but you're like, oh, finally. All right, we got somebody good at that position, dude. They're getting Russell Wilson instead of Drew Lock or Teddy Bridgewater next year. So I mean, right away, if you're a Broncos fan, you got to be loving life a little bit, right? However, like I text this to you guys immediately. Like he had all the weapons in Seattle. He had a defense. He had the coach. He's coming to Denver with less weapons, less coaching experience at altitude,
and no draft picks
in cold snow weather. Like I've lived here in Washington now for a while. It's not cold here like it is in Denver. Like Denver's a different cold. It's just insane to me that they expect him to do better in Denver. Like with less weapons and less of a chance. Like it's kind of like setting them up for failure in my eyes.
Yeah, Russell Wilson played at Wisconsin, which gets pretty cold too. So I don't know how.
That was a while ago, though. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it was a while ago. To me, Russell Wilson, that's unless they win the Super Bowl, that's too much to give up.
And that's a Super Bowl trade. They're betting that they're going to get the Super Bowl out of him.
They've got a decent defense, and that running back that they have, Williams, looked pretty good last year as a rookie. But you trade away Noah Fant, one of your best receiving targets. Jerry Jeudy, who's their best receiver?
Right, Jerry Jeudy.
He's been injured and has underperformed as someone who plays fantasy football, especially Dynasty. I was really high on him coming out of Alabama, and he is underperformed. Some of that could be quarterback play, but
right.
But other than that, who do they have? Tim Patrick, okay.
Melvin Gordon might be the third best receiver.
I don't know. I mean, it's not like when the Broncos went and got Peyton Manning,
right?
And they had Demaryius Thomas. And they went and got Wes Welker to go with. I mean, they rode their defense even then. And to me, Russell Wilson, he's coming off his worst year. Yeah, by far.
Yeah, easily.
I think he had 25 touchdowns and 6 interceptions, or 27 touchdowns, 6, which is still not bad numbers. He missed some games because of injury to the broken finger, but he just didn't look himself, and he's been taking a lot of sacks the last couple of years. That elusiveness Nick talked about has not been there. And to me, he played in 2 Super Bowls and won 1 Super Bowl, but he hasn't been to the Super Bowl since the Legion of Boom fell off, and they got rid of beast mode, the running game. And maybe you could say that about any quarterback, but I mean, I like Russell Wilson, and he's a great player. If you play fantasy football, his rushing yards and he's a good player. I'm not trying to say he's not good, but to me, you've seen once the defense wasn't all that and the running game wasn't all that, he's kind of fallen off and not been as good, and they haven't been back to the Super Bowl.
If Russell Wilson's the quarterback last year, does he beat the Chiefs in that game at the end of the season, where we kind of win it on Melvin Gordon and Nick Bolton strip sack return?
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, he would have been handing the ball off, and Melvin Gordon would have been in the backfield anyway. So maybe he makes some more plays. Drew Lock played pretty good in that game, though. Really, he had a couple rushing touchdowns, and I want to say he had another passing touchdown. Maybe the better question would be: does he win the game at Arrowhead, where the Chiefs got the pick 6 from Dan Sorensen?
Yeah.
The Chiefs have won 135 straight games or whatever it is against the Broncos now at this point, but a lot of them have been close. Maybe Russell Wilson, but also at the same time, if they've got Russell Wilson, the Chiefs aren't game planning the same, and maybe they're not holding back on offense as much, and you get in a shootout mentality. So a lot of things change if you change the quarterback for your opponent. So
I think. Sorry, go ahead.
I don't know. I mean, the Broncos got better. There's no doubt about that. I'm not going to try and sit here and say, oh, the Broncos gave up all this and didn't get better. But did they get appreciably better to justify what they gave up? I mean, at this point in their careers, I'd take Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert over Russell Wilson. Same. I mean, would you guys?
Yeah. Well, at this point in their career, I might take Russell Wilson over Herbert. We can get into that in a minute, though. I just wanted to say real quick, I think it's just interesting what like Tom Brady's done for the quarterback position. Now all of a sudden, quarterbacks think they can play till they're 45, right? And like you said, Russell Wilson's 34, man, and like it's not old, but it's old for football ages. You know what I mean? Like that dude.
Aaron Rodgers and I are the same age, and like he just signed a 4-year, $200 million contract, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But Aaron Rodgers doesn't depend on running and
exactly. Yeah, he's more of a pocket QB, and Russell Wilson's, the scrambler, as you pointed out. So just wanted to point out that's funny that the age of QBs is extended now. But like, look at like Ben Roethlisberger. Like he was only 36. Dude fell off so hard. I don't know. You know what? I just got to be thankful that the Broncos didn't do this with Aaron Rodgers, because I really thought that's the moves they were making. And Aaron Rodgers was taking so much time. There was so much noise. And then like Devontae Adams was going to follow him wherever he went. And then I have so many Broncos fans that were texting me all these rumors and stuff. So I bought into it. I thought Aaron Rodgers was going to Denver, and I was just like, holy shit, this is going to be tough. So when that news broke, I was just like very thankful. But at the same time, like you just said, Denver did get better. So it's a little worrisome, I guess, because now they have a real quarterback.
You can go back on previous episodes of this show and other shows that I've done. I never thought for 1 second Aaron Rodgers was going to leave Green Bay. You don't trade a future Hall of Fame, Super Bowl winning quarterback who just came off of an MVP season. You just don't do that. And I didn't think there's any way Aaron Rodgers was leaving Green Bay. So,
and I know what you're saying. I just thought, in light of like the Tom Brady leaving New England and going and doing that, like I thought he was shopping for a team that was, pretty much complete kind of thing. I know what you're saying though, 100%.
No, I understand. Yeah, I'm with you. If you had to give a percentage chance of like, say the Chiefs have a 10%, I'm not saying I think this, 10%, their odds or their chances of winning the division went down by X percent with Russell Wilson going to the Broncos. How much of a percentage do you think?
None.
5, 10, 8? I mean, I don't. The Chiefs are still the best team.
Yeah, I don't think it changes any. I think they'd still be the favorites. I think they'd still be picked to go through. If anything, like the only percentage change I would see is like the amount of AFC West teams making it to the playoffs. Like that percentage just got higher of like 3 or maybe even all 4 going. But I don't think it hurts our chances by any means.
Yeah.
What about you, Nick? What do you think?
I don't know, 5 to 10%.
I mean,
it's got to go down some, right? I mean, not saying that's not, you're not even saying that you think that means the Broncos are going to win, but like if that means that we potentially split with the Broncos next year, that's a division loss, right? That we haven't had the last 6 years to worry about. So, I mean, I think that's got to impact your chances of winning the division. But, I mean, I don't know what's up with the Raiders, what they're going to be next year. So it's hard to say, but
the Raiders had their Cinderella year this year. They're not. Derek Carr is not that good, and that team is not that good. They're getting Josh McDaniels as the coach. That dude, he's like if Scott Pioli's the president of the Tom Brady Millionaires Club, he's got to be like vice president or CFO or something. So that it was a fluky thing for them this year. I don't think the Raiders are
Yeah, I
really
agree.
a
Yeah.
threat. Derek Carr, keep seeing people throwing around oh my God, the AFC West has Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Russell Wilson, and Derek Carr, and I'm like,
one of these things is not
that
like
Derek
the other.
Carr, yeah, man, like you don't have to throw them in there. It still sounds good even without them. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I don't. Chiefs, to me, like if the Chiefs were head and shoulders the best team in the division, now they're just heads above the competition. They're still the better team. Russell Wilson doesn't have a Travis Kelce or a Tyreek Hill in Denver.
Right. I mean, like we were
He
just
doesn't
saying,
even
the
have a Keenan
Broncos
Allen
picked up.
or a Darren Waller. I'd still take a lot of the skill position players on the other two teams in the division over anybody the Broncos got.
Right.
Right. The Broncos might have gotten a marginally better QB, but they eliminated so much potential for that QB, and then they got rid of Noah Fant, who, like, I know you're not saying he's not a Darren Waller, but man, like when Drew Lock was the quarterback, he was the number one target. And like I think one game I think it was 4 touchdowns, might have been 3. He had 3 or 4 touchdowns in one game. I mean, like that's a pretty solid player.
Not only that, but what's Wilson's cap hit this year?
I'm not sure.
No clue. No clue.
You know what I mean? Like, he's not like on a rookie contract.
No, his number was big. He's
so like I mean it's just odd.
Yeah, so not only did you hinder your ability to get him weapons through the draft because of all the picks you gave up, but the cap space he's going to take up is also going to hamstring the Broncos on free agency and who they can go out there and get. I've seen some people saying they're going to get Devontae Adams. I don't think there's any way Devontae Adams would stay in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers. So I don't see that happening.
Yeah, and if
I see him playing over Aaron.
AFC West team, why would he go there instead? Come to the Chiefs,
dude. Someone put a picture on Twitter. It says live look at Patrick Mahomes nervous after hearing about the Russell Wilson trade. It was like a picture of him like asleep on the couch with his dog. To me, it just gives Broncos fans false hope that they're like as good as the Chiefs now, and they're just not. I'm sorry, they're not. So, interesting move.
Honestly, I don't want to dwell or harp on this too much longer, but tell me if I'm not wrong that the Broncos should have pursued Deshaun Watson instead.
I would rather have Deshaun Watson than Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
To play against, you mean? Or on your team?
On your team. If you came, say the Chiefs don't have Patrick Mahomes. I mean, if you came to me and said you can have Deshaun Watson and Russell Wilson, I'll take Deshaun Watson.
Right. He's going to be cheaper, younger, better. I don't know. Like,
got the legal stuff, though. You just don't know what's going to happen. Like, you just don't know what's going to happen with that dude and all of the legal issues and the accusations of the sexual assault and all this other stuff, man. But age and talent wise at this point in both of their careers, I'd rather have Deshaun Watson, no doubt. 10 out of 10 times.
Who would you rather have, Nick?
I mean, from a pure talent perspective, I mean, in age, like you got to go with Deshaun Watson, right? He's younger and I mean, looks to be every bit as good as Russell Wilson was, right? At his prime. There's just all that baggage to consider. I mean, I don't think that you're going to be trading away that much draft capital with that many unknowns hanging. But if you
would have got him way cheaper.
If you just ask like which one would I rather have on my team, I'd pick Watson just because he's younger and hasn't already done it, right? Like you just like there's not a huge track record. I think Peyton Manning, was there anybody else that ever won a Super Bowl with one team and went to another team and won a Super Bowl as a quarterback? Joe Montana got to the AFC Championship with the Chiefs.
Tom Brady
did it. So you're talking Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. Is Russell Wilson either one of those guys? I mean, he's never even received an MVP vote, right?
Yeah, I mentioned.
in the
Like I
league
said,
with those guys, right? Like in his best years, he wasn't as good as them. So I
think even in his best years, he rode good defense and running games.
yeah, he's a good quarterback. It's just I don't know. It's like they had the let Russ cook thing, and it was great for like 5 games until it like all fell to shit, right? And then it was like, oh, maybe we should, like let him cook a little more.
He got hurt, and I think he came back from injury too quickly, personally. But
Yeah.
still, yeah, no, it's I don't know. This is way too early because we haven't even had the draft or anything yet. But just the Russell Wilson trade, Broncos, they make the playoffs or no?
I think they make the playoffs.
I mean, if they get some weapons, yeah, they'll make the playoffs. But with their current receiving core, no, I don't see them.
Team, like that's why I say it, right? 7 teams get in; it's almost half. They'll be upper half.
Maybe, yeah. The Colts just got rid of Wentz, so I mean, they were kind of on that bottom.
Did you guys hear Washington called the Chiefs to inquire about if they would trade Patrick Mahomes?
They called every single team, though, right?
Yeah, sure, but
I don't think they actually thought there was any chance they were going to get him. To me, it's we're going to call all other 31 teams, and so I don't that story to me was probably like, do you think Brett Veach just hung the phone up?
He pulled a bender. He's like, "Oh wait, you're serious? Let me laugh."
Just 3 minutes of solid laughing. Okay, what?
Yeah,
that's what the Lions need to be doing. Let's get real. Like, why are the Commanders doing that? The Lions need to be calling everybody for every player in every position.
Look at it. I mean, maybe they could get Matthew Stafford back. The Lions. Look at it this way: if Russell Wilson is worth 2 firsts, 2 seconds, a third or a fifth, a top 5, top 10 tight end,
yeah,
and a solid defensive lineman, what is Patrick Mahomes worth, man? Like
100
picks, every first-round pick for the future of of whoever franchise you trade him for.
You have to give us your first picks, and you have to convince another team to give us their first picks too.
More than that, the dude's untradeable to me. I'm serious. A team, they could come to me and say, "I will trade you every first-round pick for the next." As long as we're a franchise, you get our first-round pick every year. I still wouldn't trade him.
No, yeah,
you're never gonna get that guy again.
No, never. And I know this sounds like Chiefs homer talk. But the guy is literally breaking every record for a quarterback as he goes along. First 50 games, first 60 games, first what? I mean, the guy is literally
starts. Yeah, everything.
He is at the best start of any quarterback in the history of the NFL.
Yeah. Preach to the choir. Preach on.
Not hyperbole. Those are facts. That's not. I mean, it's not even debatable. So, yeah, there's nothing I would accept in return for Patrick Mahomes. Nothing. I don't care what it is.
It'd be like getting like a Joe Montana rookie card at a garage sale.
It'd be like
you're just never gonna get 2 of them.
It'd be like having a winning Powerball ticket, and someone's like, "I'll trade you that for
5,000 Powerball tickets."
Like, no, like, that's it.
Already won.
So, anyway, be interesting to see. It's fun getting back on here talking Chiefs. I don't know if there's anything else you guys wanted. I think we kind of hit all the topics.
We ran the gambit.
Yeah,
ran the gambit. But
yeah, I can't think of really anything else. I mean, what do you guys think of, like, maybe this, I don't know, maybe you don't want to talk about this, but all the hubbub and all the news and all the stuff of, like, for 2 years now about Aaron Rodgers being unhappy, irreconcilable differences with the Packers front office. He's going to retire. He may never play again. The Packers are moving on. They've drafted Love. He's going to be their guy. He's going to this team. He's going to that team. We saw him here. We saw him there. And then he ends up signing with Green Bay and staying in Green Bay and playing every game, right? This past season, wins MVP again. And now he signs and they give him the most money out of anybody in the league for the next 4 years.
I think that was all noise to begin with because, like I said just a little bit earlier in this show, I never thought for a second he was going to leave Green Bay. You don't you don't let a guy like that.
Like Mahomes, right? He's untradeable.
Right. You just don't let a guy like that get away, whether it's your free agency or trade. You just don't do it. So I think that was all noise. I think that was put out there as leverage or whatever by the Rodgers camp. People want to say he's drama or he's got his ego. He's all about him and the attention. I think it was all posturing and positioning by him and his team to get what he wanted in the end, and it worked. So.
Yeah, I understand the sentiment, what you're saying, like you don't do that. But like, again, we just saw it happen with Brady, right? Like who in their right mind would have thought the Patriots would ever let him go, especially with the dynasty he created.
He was like 5 years older, right?
What's that? He wasn't coming off an MVP season either. Like
But he was like 5 years older, right?
Yeah.
Brady was, and I don't know, like.
Right. But I mean, like Brady's an anomaly, right? We can all admit that. Like, yeah, and we can honestly say Rodgers is hitting that upper precipice of the age limit for quarterbacks in the NFL, right? So it's just kind of like, to me, it was just like he hadn't won the Super Bowl in how many years? So it's like at this point, I thought that frustration was real. I bought into it, man. I thought he was shopping around looking for a team that he thought he could have a chance with. You know what I mean? And then Devontae was saying, like, I'll go where Aaron goes. So I was just like, oh my God, he might be leaving. I mean, I bought into it. But
that's my question is, like, do you think that it was real that there's a chance that he left, or do you think it was all bullshit?
That's what I was saying, dude. Like doing this show, like I've realized there's a huge disconnect between what the public sees and what goes on at the field and in the offices. You know what I mean? Like just it's anybody's guessing at this point. Like nobody knows except for the coaches and the players and the people in there.
Yeah.
All these people who claim to know, they don't know. Like I watched Ian Rappaport claim all these things, and God, he missed so many of them, you know. And like Aaron Rodgers comes out on Pat McAfee, he's like, I don't even know where he's getting this, but this is this is this. You know, it's hilarious to watch even like insiders fail. So that's why I'm saying, like, I'm starting to agree with Scott. Like, I think it was just noise. I think it was just media hubbub, something to talk about. You know what I mean? Like, what's going to get clicks? Aaron Rodgers is unhappy, and like,
well, I think maybe he put some of that out there, but I don't think it was like sincere. I don't think I think it was all, like I said, I think it was all.
It's like a chess game.
Yeah, even if he was, man, like
all calculated to get what he wanted, and that was to stay in Green Bay and be the highest paid player in the league. And
even if he was frustrated, he's allowed to be, dude. And you know, the media, like if he even says, I'm frustrated that Green Bay drafted a quarterback, you know what I mean? What does that say? Like the media would take that and spin it out of control. Everybody would be talking about it. Is Aaron Rodgers going to leave? You know what I mean? Like just expressing frustration gets that kind of tailspin in the media. So
it's just, I don't know that I've seen that many other stories of that magnitude that were preached for that long, like really just come to nothing in recent memory. I mean, you know.
Yeah, that's true.
We got Doug asking, what's up with Bieniemy not getting a head coach interview?
The Eric Bieniemy thing is, look, the guy, he's got a criminal background.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that should keep anybody from working or advancing in their career. It's things that are from a long time ago, but they're not good things. And to me, I don't think the guy interviews particularly well. I don't think anybody buys the Eric Bieniemy calls the plays charade, because when you hear about it, perfect example, after the AFC Championship game, what did Andy Reid say about the play where at the end of the half that cost him the field goal? I could have given Patrick a better play there. I think everybody knows that it's really Andy Reid. I think everybody knows that it's Patrick Mahomes. I think people saw this same thing with Adam Gase and Peyton Manning and Josh McDaniels and Tom Brady and all these up and coming coordinators that they're geniuses that have badass quarterbacks and are with really good head coaches. So I think when you just add that all together, I just don't think another thing that I saw, another good point. I'm trying to think of who made it now, so I can give him credit. But they said Ryan Pace, the guy that left the Chiefs, the personnel department, to go be the GM of the Bears, didn't even interview him. The guy worked with him for 5-6 years here in Kansas City. He gets a GM position with another team, and he doesn't even interview the guy. What's that say about Eric Bieniemy? I just don't think he's gonna. I don't think he's head coach material personally. I don't think he's that good, and I just don't think he's. I just don't think he's gonna get it. I think that ship sailed as far as him head coach.
I've always got to wonder too how many assistant coaches really want to be a head coach, right? Like I know it's kind of like the next level of progression, but like you're crushing it. You got a great salary, like you said, you got a badass quarterback. You're right under Andy Reid, arguably one of the greater coaches of all time. Like, do you want to leave that position? I mean, I know he went and interview. He entertained interviews. Like, I think he went to like New Orleans, right? Didn't he go somewhere or something like that?
Yeah, I think he interviewed with the Broncos and he interviewed with the Saints, I believe.
Right. So, I mean, like, I think he entertains the idea of doing that, but I'm not sure. I mean, this is all speculation, obviously, but like, do assistant coaches really, really want that? You know what I mean? Like, especially when are you going to leave this team to go, be ahead? I mean, I know that's the natural progression, but like, you got a sweet gig here being the OC for the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Another thing I think that factors into it too is you see a lot of these teams are going the Sean McVay route. Younger guys, more innovative guys. Eric Bieniemy's older. You saw it with the Broncos. They hired this younger guy that was with the Packers to be their head coach. You're seeing more and more teams hire younger guys who maybe have fresh ideas or more analytics. So again, when you bundle that with the fact that he's got kind of a sketchy past that you're going to have to probably answer questions about, I don't really want to talk about things because they're a long time ago. You can Google it and find them out. They're pretty serious. It's not like, oh, well, the guy got into a fight or something. I mean, he's got some bad stuff out there in his past. The fact that he's getting older and teams seem to be wanting younger head coaches, and the fact that people pretty much know that it was Andy Reid designing the plays, calling the plays. I mean,
yeah,
Andy Reid just radios the play to Eric Bieniemy, and then he relays it to Patrick Mahomes, and Eric calls the plays. Well, no, he doesn't. Because you hear like those moments of honesty when Andy Reid's not thinking about it. I could have given Patrick a better player. I could have done a better job, or outside of the 15.
Do we have time for Jet Wasp?
Right, yeah. And he's like asking Andy, he wants Wasp. Like, well, if you're the one calling the plays, what do you need to tell Andy?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there's just so many signs that he's actually not even doing that. So I just think teams see that it's really he's kind of maybe along more for the ride.
Right. That's saying he's got a sweet gig. You know what I mean? Like, is that really his next step?
I think that and I know Doug Peterson won a Super Bowl, right? So there's success there, but he ultimately got fired, right? And then Matt Nagy, which it looks like we got, I'm going to say Octavia. Do you guys think about Matt Nagy? What do you guys think about Matt Nagy joining the team again and Matt Nagy getting booted, right? So I think that maybe they look at that and they say, okay, so these guys are a little bit of fool's gold where they look like they're doing all this stuff, but then when we get them, it's really mostly Andy Reid. And once they get a couple years away from his system and his plays, like they're really not that good. I'm going to jump back to this topic with the question here. First, thanks for commenting. Welcome to Chiefs Kingdom Live. I love it. I love that he's back. Like, you can get a guy that's got head coaching experience as a quarterback / I forget what his title is, but he's coaching the quarterback, and he's like basically a special coach. Like, you're just, I mean, we were talking about value earlier in the show. Like, you're not going to get much better value than that, right? Like, now you've got, let's say you do think that BNME is capable of being a head coach, and you've got Andy Reid, and you've got Spagnuolo, who was a head coach, and now you've got, Nagy back on the team, who's a head coach, like, and they all like are Andy Reid guys. I mean, I think that's a tremendous win for the team. Hopefully it helps divide some of those responsibilities, even more so. Maybe it gives Andy a little bit more, because you always see Andy Reid talking to Mahomes on the sideline, right? So maybe like he can get some of that attention from Nagy now, and he can maybe focus on building the defense. Probably not going to happen. It's wishful thinking, but it's our show.
I think that question is from our friend over in the UK. Maybe if that's correct, Octavia, and I apologize if I'm butchering your name. We're Americans. We don't know how to pronounce any names or speak any language other than English. So excuse me if I'm saying your name terribly wrong, but I believe I've talked to her and see her stuff on Twitter, and she's actually a Chiefs fan that lives maybe over in England. If that's the case, that's cool as hell. We appreciate the comment and watching, definitely, for sure. And I enjoy seeing your content and interacting with you on Twitter. So that's really cool. Matt Nagy to me is interesting. I put something out on the Chiefs Kingdom Live Twitter. I said, Coach A in 4 seasons as a head coach, went to the playoffs twice with Mitch Trubisky, which gives away who Coach A is. Was the Associated Press Coach of the Year his first year with Chicago, won a division, and he was the most atrocious, god-awful. He shouldn't be a coach. That guy should have been fired long ago. He's an embarrassment to the Bears and to the profession of head coaching in the NFL. Meanwhile, there was a certain Coach B in Miami who in 3 years never had a winning record, never made the playoffs, never had AP Coach of the Year award voted on for him. And it was like the biggest travesty in the history of football that guy got fired. Matt Nagy, I don't think he's as bad as people made him out to be as a head coach. The dude made the playoffs twice and was a double doink away from his kicker from winning a playoff game with Mitchell Trubisky.
Right.
I don't think Matt Nagy was as big a problem in Chicago as he was. You look at what he's able to do as the offensive coordinator. Yep, that's her. Cool. Awesome. Thank you so much for commenting and watching. We love that. That's awesome. No doubt. I'm glad to have you in here. Yeah, I'm excited about having him. Look what he was able to do with Alex Smith in that offense.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good pickup, man.
My dad's a Bears fan, right? So this year I've had that view in the back, just like, this coach sucks. What is he doing, kind of thing. And like, so like, it was so funny. I was like, oh, what's he gonna do? Just go up to Patrick Mahomes. Okay, this is what we're doing. Everything that Mitchell Trubisky did, just don't do that. But no, like, I echo what Nick said completely, dude. Having a head coach just being like able to work one-on-one with your quarterback specifically, like, talk about like just increasing your value. Yeah, like he's gonna be able to, like, not that Patrick Mahomes struggles with it, but just like, improved reading defenses, improved like just techniques, fundamentals. And then I also think he has that element where he lets players be themselves too. And like, that's what Patrick Mahomes was missing for a good portion of this season. Really didn't see him bust out and be himself till later in the season, start making runs and, being true godlike Reaper like Mahomes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for him to join. Can't wait to see what happens.
Yeah, no, that's a plus, getting him back here on the staff. I think the Bears' general manager was more the problem than Matt Nagy. So looking forward to it. I think we got So True, Bo. There you go. Hey.
Yeah.
Broken clock's right twice a day, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I guess that's the old saying, isn't it? So, but Yeah, I'm looking forward. The draft is not far down the road here, right? Chiefs. They had the first round pick last year. I'm trying to think if they traded that
Yes.
away. Anyway,
Yeah, caught me off guard on that one. It's a little trivia. I don't know.
I can't remember last week.
They haven't had very many first round picks the last 3 or 4 years. So Chiefs get a pick there in the first round. Be interesting to see where they go. When we get a little bit closer, when some free agent signings and some things happen and things start going down there,
We did not get a first rounder last year.
Right. So when we get to for sure.
Yeah.
All top of the Bears there. That's kind of a dysfunctional organization, which sucks because I've got a good friend that I grew up with that's a Bears fan, and I know, like you said, Bo, your dad is a Bears fan. I think they're like one of the classic, iconic teams in the NFL. They've been around forever. I've always kind of liked the Bears a little bit. Not saying I'm a Bears fan, but so we'd like to see them be good for a few people that I know well, and just like I said, I think they're like one of those iconic.
It'd be
teams
good for the NFL, right? If they were a better team, it'd be better for the NFL. So
right, for sure. So be interesting to see what they can do there. I don't know what they're going to do with their quarterback. So draft coming up. Maybe when we get a bit closer to the draft, or maybe they're after the draft and the Chiefs have made some picks and some free agent stuff has gone down. Maybe we'll do another show. Just want to thank everybody again for watching. Want to thank everybody for interacting with us on social media. Thank you so much for commenting. It's so much more fun and enjoyable and entertaining doing this when we have people join in and be part of the show. So it's awesome. If you haven't already, shared the channel with your friends. If you haven't subscribed, turn on those notifications. Do that now. Doesn't cost anything, and it helps us out, and we appreciate it. Fellas, good seeing you again.
Likewise.
Yeah, it's great to see you guys.
Put together a show here when some free agent stuff goes down and we get closer to the draft. Until then, follow us on all of our social media platforms. Interact with us there at Chiefs Kingdom Live, Twitter, Facebook. I know Bo's got the Insta going. Thank you guys from our friend over the UK. Go Chiefs! Yeah, absolutely. That's how we. I think we're gonna let her close out the show here, fellas. Let's go Chiefs!
Let's go Chiefs!